Okay. It is 5:30, and so with that, you're all set up there on the audio? Okay. We will call the Community Preservation Committee meeting to order. This is our concluding meeting in the process of making recommendations. A reminder tonight that what we are doing this evening is, since the presentations, each member of the committee has scored the individual projects. And what we have in front of us tonight is a compilation of those 7 scores. We will, as you know, we have a limited pot of funding, and so we will go through and make judgment calls on using the scores of how many and how much we will fund. We are not the last step in this process, of course. Once this process concludes tonight and we make recommendations, those recommendations go 2 places through the city. They go to the city council for recommendation, and then they go to the city solicitors for their guidance and assistance as we move forward. So with that, Marissa, why don't you introduce yourself?
Marissa Robertson.
Diane Long.
Lindsay Nystrom.
Frank Callahan.
Eric Stratton.
And my name is William Eddy. I'm chairman of the committee. With us from the city side, as ever, is our always able
Jacqueline Vermeister, Community Preservation Manager.
Paul Morano with the Economic Development Office.
And before I forget to do so, let me thank both of you for all your guidance, wisdom, and assistance as we've moved through process number 2 here. The minutes are in your packet. Do I have any motion to accept, any edits, amendments, great thoughts?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion second?
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next up, who wants to be vice chair or chairperson? We do need someone to be vice chairperson. There was one meeting, last meeting, I had a work commitment and did it remote from Fall River. And so we do need somebody to be willing to step in if we need it. Obviously, unfortunately, it won't be Diane.
I would like to nominate Eric.
Second.
I'll accept.
There you go. Any other nominations? Seeing none, all in favor of accepting by acclamation Eric Stratton to be vice chair of the committee? Say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Mr. Vice Chairman. Okay, so with that, we'll get to the meat of the meeting here. Jacqueline, why don't you kind of give us a big picture, and then I will walk us through the process we will use.
Through the chair, absolutely. So after our public hearings a couple weeks ago, the Community Preservation Committee went home over the weekend and reevaluated all the applications using the scoring rubric that was created through the community preservation planning process. In it, the committee considered the presentations at the public hearings as well as the applications themselves and assigned scores to all of the projects and provided comments as well related to how they felt about the project, submitted them to Community Preservation Program staff. We compiled them. We added all the scores for each criterion, averaged the totals, and assigned a total score value for each, or an average score value for each project, and then combined all of the comments for each of those inside of the project report. All of the categories that you see in the report are color-coded, so there are certain ranges of scores that are in each of those color-coded categories for ease of discussion tonight as you consider the total funding award for each of those projects. The way that we can move forward is like this. Those scores are just part of the guidance for you as you're considering how much money to award to each or recommend for award for each of these projects. You can go through the project's category, color category by color category, and determine if you want to pull out any projects to talk about or if you want to move forward with funding the category in full. I have a spreadsheet here with all of the budget asks for each of those projects, and so I will be able to calculate out how much money is being recommended for each project in real time and be able to let you know during that process how much money is left, if we're meeting our category minimums as required by state law, and just where we are in the process of using all of those funds for the year. Does anyone have any questions on the process?
Okay, thank you, Jacqueline. So, a little bit of a methodology thing tonight of how we're gonna go here. So, as Jacqueline said, you have categories in front of you. And we can do it to the beat of the beep as we go along here. And so, what I'm gonna do is we'll open to a category. So in the first is the blue, obviously. And I'm gonna ask you to look at, so like in the blue category, there are 1, 2, 3. There are 7 projects in the blue category. And I'm gonna ask you if you look at them, ask if there are any that we want to pull out for discussion. If one is not pulled out, we're gonna go on the assumption that it has unanimous approval. And obviously, if you can pull a project out for any reason, you can pull it out for a discussion about the merits of the project, whether it's something that you agree with. You can pull the project out for just a discussion about whether you're looking at the funding level, whether you want less than a full funding and you want a partial funding. You know, we're not bound by the actual score. We're bound by your judgment here. And so, you know, this is meant to be a very democratic, small d, democracy. You know, discussion and ultimately vote. Any questions before we start? Eric?
Oh, sorry, no, I was gonna call one out, but
Oh, hold on a second.
I'll wait.
All right.
Questions?
Any questions, any thoughts before we get going? Okay, so there are 7 projects in here. Eric, what have you have that you'd like to pull out?
I wanted to pull out the affordable housing creation by the City of Worcester Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Yes, and while we're doing that, why don't we also pull out the other housing on number 2, score of 28?
Yep, so we can pull both of those, I think.
Hold on, before you go there, any others that we want to pull out of the blue category? Okay. Eric?
So I like this project. I think there's a lot of merit to it. However, as I've noted previously, you know, this is a group that we will continue to see coming back. And while there's a significant need for more housing and affordable housing, I think that we can spread the wealth some. And so I think that the ask of $2 million should be reduced. I would recommend a funding level looking more at 1.25. And again, this is a group that we've seen before. When they came last time, we reduced, and they were able to they kind of over-delivered in terms of the number of units. So I'm confident that they could probably end up doing the same again. And again, this allows us to sort of spread the wealth between a number of these other projects. You know, we have only 2 projects, I think, that came in related to housing, if I remember correctly. I would say for the latter, the down payment assistance, while I have some concerns related to that in terms of this is not a lottery system for these units, that they sort of already have people who are living there and I think have to make offers to them first since they're converting these to condos. I would say that based off of their ask is small enough that I'm comfortable with moving forward with that one into its full funding level.
Thank you. And so, did you make a motion on the 1.25?
I didn't. I'm just open
All
for
right, so we'll
discussion
just
because people
continue with
may disagree with that, and I'm open to listening.
So Frank, can you give me 1 second? I know you look like you're ready to roll. I agree with you on the 1.25, but the reason I jumped in there, Frank, is I want to pose a question into the city side and to get some more information on the floor. As much as I can't get worked up by $20,000 in the grand scheme of things, there's precedents that get set. And so my concern is one of the things that we need to always look at is, are we either supplanting or supplementing income for the, you know, for projects or for what the city does? Are we duplicating city projects? and there are requirements for housing. For instance, the Housing Trust Fund. We would never send city funding to that group and expect them to select each of the recipients in the 1.25. There are requirements that the state imposes on cities. Paul, I know this is a little bit out of your direct, sphere of government. I know you've looked at this. Can we talk a little bit about what is the requirements that the city would have on city dollars going into housing in terms of selection versus, the lottery requirements? I mean, I come from the Housing Authority where we have a very public wait list that is sacrosanct. You can't pass it up. No, not possible. What are the requirements? Is this something the city's already doing? Does the city have thoughts on this project?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the city's housing division has they currently have a down payment assistance program. With that program, there are a number of requirements, including the city does an inspection, there's a radon test, the applicants have to go to a first-time home buyer class. The developer is required to complete a fair housing market study, or marketing plan, I should say. And also, there are requirements that the recipients of the down payment assistance have to make less than 80% of the area median income. In this case, the applicant understands that he's going to be required to meet all of those requirements that are in the current down payment program that the city administers. The difference really is that Maine South CDC is interested in providing down payment assistance, but 2 of the recipients would be making less than 80% of area median income, and the remaining, I believe, 4 could make up to 100% of area median income. So really the difference between what's being proposed for CPA funding and the city's current down payment assistance program is that area median income guidelines, again, where the city's program, you have to be less than 80%. What they're seeking funding for is 2 applicants would be under 80%, and remaining, again, I believe 4 applicants would be less than 100%.
And taking city money would they still be able to select the recipients versus having to be part of some either lottery process or wait list process, public wait list?
So it would be, they'd have to follow the affirmative fair housing marketing plan, where you'd have to go through a similar process that the city currently requires through their program that they have now. So there'd be the whole fair housing, to be the lottery and everything.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, Frank, you looked like you were ready to roll.
Yes, so I just
Oh,
wanted
thank you,
to
Paul.
ask for a partial increase for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I was part of the effort to get the Community Preservation Act passed in Worcester, and we made part of our promotion was the fact that affordable housing was important in Worcester, and we did a postcard that had a picture of a 3-decker on it, and I felt it was very, very effective, where a lot of voters in some of the tenement areas went, and we passed it because of that. And I also, during that process, we were talking about the ARPA funds, and that the ARPA funds would dry up, and that this would be the replacement for the ARPA funds. And so I don't feel we have to go all the way up to the $2 million, but if we could get up closer to it, I would be in favor of that.
Other discussion?
I have some reservations about the trust fund, primarily because it seems like it's not really contributing that much to home ownership. At the end of the day, when it comes to paying rent, like, that's money that's going into the pocket of a developer. So I don't quite understand the long-term, I mean, I understand the immediate need for affordable housing, and I obviously am in full support of that, but I would really like it to see it benefiting folks to build wealth and equity in the long run. Right now, it's really going to developers. So I'm in support of a partial funding.
I too is in support of partial funding. You know, 1.25, 1.5, I would support either one of those.
So, I'm looking for you, but maybe I'm going, look, I share your concern. We have, obviously, minimums that we have to meet. I worry about the message we send if we go lower than 125, which is what we gave them in the first round. Last year they asked for 2.5 and we gave them 125, I believe. But no, remind me what it is they asked for, I can't remember. We did give them 1.25, that part I have right.
Through the chair, I believe it was 1.5 they requested.
So we asked
last
for
time.
1.5, we gave them 1.25. Thank you. In a perfect world, Frank, I think we'd give them 2 million, but we don't live in a perfect world, and we have an awful lot of projects tonight that we're hoping to get to. I think Eric's motion, or Eric's thought is fair. Staying at 125, I think will be by far our largest recipient this evening. So I think it sends a message how much we value the housing block. But I worry every 250,000 we go up, it's 250,000 that many of our applications tonight are less than 250. I worry that it's just another project we're not gonna be able to do tonight. So I would support 1.25 if there's a motion as such.
Can I ask a question?
You can ask any or say anything you want.
If we decide on a number, so one of my concerns I forgot to say was that I'm very supportive of affordable housing, but I would also hate to see it bump out another project, like you were saying, that we feel like is good for CPA funds. Are we allowed to revisit this number, or once we confirm it now, we cannot?
Once we confirm it, it gets, Jacqueline will make it look very pretty in a paper, and it will be transmitted to the city clerk to put on the city council agenda.
Right.
And then after that, we are no longer part of the process.
But I mean, like in this meeting tonight.
What my intention to do is, once we finish this discussion,
Yeah.
we're going to then take a bundle of the blue category projects, the ones that we haven't discussed because there seems to be unanimity, right? And then the ones that we're about to amend, and we're gonna vote those together.
Okay.
And then once we've done that, it goes into Jacqueline's spreadsheet, and then we go to the next category and begin to, so not really. Once we take a vote, which we'll do in a couple minutes, it's kind of gone past it.
Okay, I want to know if I'd have. the
We're
full-
not in, sorry, we're not in a hearing, it's,
Okay, I'm a trustee, and that's fine, thank you.
so no, once we do a vote,
So I guess then a question, would we want to consider approving all of the other projects in that category, possibly hold off on the 2 housing items, move into the green category, because we can kind of whittle our way down in the budget, but making sure we're watching that dollar amount, and come back to those?
it's fine with me. I would hate to see us, again,
Yeah.
I'm not the final say on this, it's the committee decision. I'd hate to see us go below what we gave them last year. I think the message would not be good.
Certainly, I would agree, and I'm just thinking of maybe finding a happy medium here, where perhaps we hold off on those 2 projects, we move through a few,
Yep.
and then we can watch kind of our Excel sheets, so to speak.
Sure.
At which point, we could always come back to it, because we may determine, hey, there actually is more money,
Sure.
because if we choose not to fund certain projects, then there may be unspent funds that we could potentially put towards it.
That's-
Would that sort of appease the other committee members?
Yeah, I think having a full
You got it. Okay.
picture would be
So-
helpful.
So I guess then, Eric, I think your motion would be to approve 6 projects.
And do you want me to name them out with the dollar amounts?
I'll do it on the motion. Why don't you do it? Just get the motion out there, and then we'll do it.
So my motion would be to approve 6 projects in our blue category, which would include the change order request for Roberto Clemente Park,
Yep.
for the critical roof repairs to historic building offering affordable housing to low-income women by Abby Kelly Foster House Incorporated.
Eric, why don't you just get it, because I'm gonna have to read the amounts of money anyway.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So that's
Yeah,
why.
okay, so my motion would be
Okay.
to approve 6 projects excluding the Worcester
Yes.
Affordable Housing Trust.
Yep.
And the down payment assistance.
So 5 projects then.
Is that 5?
Yes, there's 7 projects total in the category.
Were there any concerns, sorry, were there any other concerns, I guess, from anyone else regarding the down payment assistance?
Yeah, is there any reason we're not approving that. If
Oh,
it's
sorry,
scored so
I-
hi- I mean, it's like, it's $20,000.
Oh, I'm okay with that.
So then 6.
Okay, so then 6. 6 projects excluding the affordable housing creation by city.
Do I have a
of
second?
Second.
Second.
Second, Lindsay. Discussion. Jacqueline, did you have a point you want to make?
Through the chair, I was just confirming, if you wanted to put a placeholder amount in there on the low end,
I think
just
we're,
to hold that.
I think we're informally in the committee right now, holding it, and we do not let us get anywhere beyond, don't let us get to the point where we don't have 1.25. Okay, so the motion has been made to recommend to the city council the following projects. Berto Clementi Park, $483,873.72. The Abby Kelly Foster House, $186,000. The Creative Hub Community Arts Center, $223, $477. The Down Payment Assistance Maine South Community Development Center Corporation, $20,000. Mechanics Hall, $184,740. And did I miss?
Nope.
The HVAC antiquarian.
Yeah, you missed 2 there, missed a page, sorry. The Antiquarian Society, $200,000. And we're holding that. So how many projects? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there should have been 6 projects that just listed. Okay,
Double check these totals.
let's hold that page out for the affordable housing. So that motion have been made, seconded. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next up, we move to the green category. Let me get to the last page, because I did write down how many there are. There are 13 projects in this category. Are there projects that we want to pull out for discussion? I have 2, I believe, but St. Cobain and the Stronger Start Worcester Public Schools. Does anyone else have others that they want to pull out for discussion? Take your time, we're in no hurry here, folks. So go through the pages, see if there's something you want to bring out for discussion.
The Beacon Street Historic Firehouse Rehabilitation Restoration by REC.
Yep. Actually, thank you, I should have done that one too. That one should have come out, you're absolutely right.
Not worry.
The Veterans Inc. with 400 and some odd thousand.
Hold on one second, Frank, I just want to get these down so I don't mess this up here. So the St. Cobain, the Beacon, REC, and the
We do the
schools.
schools.
WPS, yep.
Mhm.
And what was the other one, Frank, you wanted? I'm sorry, I know you just said one.
The vets.
Veterans, yep.
The Institute Park gazebo.
The Institute Park, yep.
Do you already have the HVAC upgrades for Preservation Worcester?
Yes, that is, which one is that? No, we do not. I don't think we have that yet. This is one more. Salisbury House. Where is that? What page is that on?
It is on page 10 at the bottom. The lowest. Are we not into that group yet? Have I moved?
Page 10 at the bottom. Oh, Salisbury House. I'm sorry, you're calling it President Worcester. I was calling it Salisbury House. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
6, Salisbury House. Just looking to see if we have any other we want to pull out. We have 7 projects we're in agreement on, and 6 we're gonna have a discussion on. Is that where we're starting? Just wanna make sure, don't wanna miss anybody who has something they wanna talk about. Okay. First up, in no particular, Senko Bend. The only comment I have on it is I contacted Craig Blaze from WBDC to try to understand the difference between whether we could do a partial or whether we could full funding, or what the impact would be. And what he explained to me was, it's simply a match. So they're putting 100,000 of their money, but where the real money comes from is if we put 300,000 in from the city, Senko Bend will put 300,000. If we put 500,000 in, Senko Bend will put 500,000. Their total project is 1.5 million. So he said, if you do 300,000, Senko Bend does 300,000, we start at 700, and we have to fundraise to get to the other 8. If we do 500, Senko Bend does 500, they put 100 in, and so then they have a $400,000 gap. That's the difference. That was the sole question I asked. So just to put that as a clarifier of what that is. Frank, you put Beacon REC on. You want to have a discussion?
Yes. Now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I know that there was some question about the fact that they're not ready to kick off their campaign until 2027, and that maybe we could give them a partial at this point. And I had actually inquired around if there was some way to do kind of a memorandum of understanding, saying that next year, we can tell you that we're gonna do it next year rather than this year. And the answer I got back from the administration was, you can't do that because it has to go through the city council. So my compromise is maybe we can give them $150,000 and say, this is a place setter, and hopefully next year we can do another 150,000, so.
And look, it's not the first time that we've ever, you're right, formally we can't, but it's also not the first time we informally have made a kind of mental note that we've kind of committed to this project. Look, we knew we were gonna give Clemente money, that came back from last year. Pilgrim Church came in here, we approved 100 and something thousand, and we kind of knew that when they chose to not spend it, that we'd come back to them in this coming around here. So, there have been moments when we have known informally, you're absolutely right, Frank, we're a city, the city can't do that, but, most of this committee is gonna be back. So I think, I get the reservation of having 300,000 sit in the bank for 14, 15 months while we say no to other projects tonight. So, I think it's a good thought. What's the third one? We have Worcester Public Schools, I assume.
I was gonna say, if I may.
Oh, sure,
just
you wanna talk more on that?
I was in the same camp. I think that, looking at reducing the total funding amount and looking at, their budgetary asks, even if we were to say, we'll give you $100,000, that covers their masonry repair and reporting, and if they are waiting another year anyways to get started with some of this work, great, we're giving them money, they can get started, they can always come back to us.
Yep.
So I would say, I think reducing it to either 100 or 150,000, I think it's a great project, I love it, I think that area in general will benefit greatly from it, and I think REC does great work, but I do have, again, concerns that giving the funds to just have them sit and wait is concerning when we have other projects that may be more shovel-ready at this point in time.
So just to clarify, we're gonna go through these 6 that we held, have a discussion on it. When we finish the discussion on each one of the 6, once we've done all 6, I'm gonna ask people to make motions on each one of the 6, and then let's start to figure out where we wanna go. So the third one is the Worcester Public Schools. It was a confusing presentation at times on money. I suspect we have lots of discussion on this one. We're obviously, this is a second city arm that we are probably gonna own, third city arm. Parks Department, the Affordable Trust Fund, and now the public schools that we are going to probably have a long-term relationship with, apparently through this process. So, assuming that we want to do this, that they just know what we're opening ourselves into. The question, I think, is how big do we, if we're going to have a long-term role in playgrounds, how quickly or how big do we want to jump in each time? How slow do we want to go? Because this could absorb a lot of funding each year. You know, are we going to go one at a time? Are we going to go two at a time? I know the schools have in front of us three. So how are folks feeling about this tonight?
You know, from my end, I think I was looking at this in a couple ways. You know, generally speaking, I love the idea of having playgrounds, you know, for kids. I have 2 young kids myself, so I'm very supportive of that. My concern is really that my understanding is that there is not a line item budget in the Worcester Public Schools for playgrounds and playground repairs or replacement. And I have concerns of a supplanting, you know, you know, sort of in the spirit of supplanting the city's budget, where the city is, you know, neglecting to fund this, expecting funding to come from other sources. And so while I support what they're trying to do, I think that looking at this, you know, maybe 2 or 3 of these playgrounds, either funding their revised request of 382 or bringing it down some from there to maybe fund 2 of the specific schools makes sense. But I would probably do that with sort of a word of caution to them too, of the expectation is that they work with the city council to get a line item in their budget to help cover these costs. Because I do think otherwise we're looking at these costs will continue to come just to this committee. And again, you know, while it may be in the spirit of what we're supposed to be funding, I think that the city has an obligation as well to these schools and to the residents to properly fund the recreational equipment for kids at playgrounds.
Other discussion?
I would be in favor of 2 of the 3. I also feel that it would be incumbent on me to talk to some of the city councilors and say, please put in some funding for the playgrounds for the school, because it just is going to encroach on the efforts that we're doing with the Community Preservation Act to try and fund some of the nonprofits that are well-deserved in the city. I also want to talk to folks at maybe the United Way about trying to find a corporate sponsor. I would have no problem if there was a corporate sponsor on the playground and everything else like that. In between the last couple of meetings, I talked to the state rep down in the Quincy Village area, and he said the one at Quincy Village is well used. It got funded actually from the landfill cap money that came to the city about 25 years ago. And they built it that way, and it's well used. He said they've just worn it out, is the problem. So it's not like it's not used, it's used too much, so.
And perhaps too, I mean, if I may, just perhaps too, when we work with the, you know, either, you know, whether it requires, you know, us sending a letter or something to the counselors or, you know, the city manager, perhaps, you know, if they are coming back, it'd be great to see them coming back with a match. You know, the city is putting this much, you know, funding into it, whether it's through grants or other resources, and then coming to us, similar to what the Parks Department has done, where they're seeking other state and other grants to fund these projects. It's not solely relying on the funding coming from this committee.
Other discussion?
Reasonable.
Yeah, I agree with everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, technically, I guess we're not supplanting. You can't supplant something that hasn't been funded. You know, if they, you know, stop funding it because we did, that's a clear supplant, but budgets reflect priorities. And clearly this has not been a priority other than when new schools are built. And the conundrum for us is, like you, I'm a big fan of neighborhood playgrounds, and when the school is out, including summer, that playground, unless it's an enclosed inside a property, which I don't think we're talking about, these are playgrounds that are for the community. And the school department is smart that they have put together 3 schools that are in tough neighborhoods that could use assistance with this type of playground. So whether we do 3 or 2, I think it's yeah, and with trying to get the city to jump into the playground business with us would be really helpful. All right, we'll come back to that one. Veterans, Frank, I think, or somebody put on veterans.
I put down veterans. Again, it was a huge ask, and I actually asked them at the hearing, can you cut back a little bit? I don't have a sense that their roofs are in trouble. I haven't heard anecdotes about, you know, when it rains, they have to run around with buckets and catch the rain or anything else like that. So if we could cut back a little bit on them, I would have no problem. If you want to get done with it, I'm fine with that. It depends on how much money is left.
Right, this gets down to a money issue versus a expediency issue here. I mean, I specifically asked the question, is this 2 of 2 or second appearance of many? I would like to kind of, Goddard House falls in the same thing here. I'd like to move some of our frequent flyers that we've kind of decided we're gonna do to get them done. And open this up for others. Because my worry is if we hold, that Veterans Inc. is going to sit on this project and come back here for the third part. And then, once they get all 3 funding pots, then they're gonna actually do the roof rather than doing it in shifts. And look, no one's arguing about the role of Veterans Inc. It is just an establishment that's part of the infrastructure of Worcester. For me, I'd rather get them in, get them out.
Okay.
See if we can, but let's see where we are money-wise.
Okay.
Okay.
you know. Institute Park, that was you, Diane.
The other thing that I wanted to bring up is that they had talked about having a number of quotes that had come in, and that they started at, I think, 32,000, going up to 62, but the request was for the full 62. And I thought, well, they're probably going to go with somebody, maybe not the lowest, but somewhere in between there. So even though this isn't a huge ask, I thought, why are we going to the maximum amount when that might not be what they need?
Question to the city through that. Jacqueline, do you have any sense that the amount they need is lower than the 62?
Through the chair, when I was talking to the applicant, they had gone to get 3 quotes prior to the application deadline, and so they had multiple quotes for the work. With that said, they had not had the scope of work refined between all of those projects, and so while there were 3 quotes, the scope for those quotes were different. So I encouraged them to put the highest quote into the application packet, just so that when they did figure out what the final scope was, that they were able to fund it. So there is a possibility that that project would come in lower.
And if they would follow, I assume, the pattern or the precedent that was set by the Parks Department and then refund the funds back to us?
Well, they'd
the
have to
chair,
expend it, then get reimbursed, and that's it.
Right, good point. Very good point.
Through the chair, if the quote came back lower than the award, then we would not give them those funds.
Do you remember what the lowest quote was, what the range was?
I think it was 32.
Through the chair, the range was pretty significant.
Yeah.
So we could end up having 30,000 that we put out tonight that doesn't get expended. Okay. Got it.
That was my only thought.
Okay. And Salisbury House was yours also.
Ah,
Yes, I think you called it Pres Worcester.
right, that's right. This was the HVAC system,
Yes, 300,000.
right. In this, I think we should support it, absolutely. I just wasn't sure that we needed to support it in full, for the full $300,000. I mean, if there could be some sort of match, or I was looking at maybe $200,000 toward it.
We don't have in front of us, I could pull
I
up.
think
Do
their
we remember
total-
what the match was? I don't
think
remember.
their total budget was 390, 690, and they were requesting 300.
Okay.
That's just looking at the pre-application and the,
Yeah,
So it's 96, so it's basically a 30% match?
Through the chair, this is the Preservation Worcester project? you're
Yes,
speaking
Salisbury
about?
House.
So the total project cost is $385,790, with the CPA covering $300,000. So there's a match of over $85,000.
My only comment was I was impressed by their presentation because of the fact that they brought along a contractor who said that they had brought in an engineer who did a master plan for them. And they bought the house about 4 years ago now, and so they've figured out what the needs are, and this is the first step in a process. So I think they're doing it in an organized fashion. I was impressed with that.
Yeah.
So it looks like 23% of the project is what they're bringing
I was never a math major, so this-
I've got a calculator in front of me, so.
I appreciate it. So, okay. Further discussion on the projects, otherwise I'm going to ask you to make motions on each one of these. So I was Saint-Gobain, so I'm gonna move that we provide 500,000 in order to get a 500,000 Saint-Gobain match.
I agree with that.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Second one, Beacon, Frank, I think you were, I'm sorry, we're gonna do this all together, don't worry. This is, right now, we're kinda doing a little bit of a sub-vote, and then I'll put them all together with the rest.
I just want to make sure I get it all in.
Yeah, don't worry, we're gonna do it
Because
all
that
in
was
one.
500.
Yes,
Okay.
yep. Frank, you wanted to make a motion on Beacon
The REC.
The
project?
REC,
Yes.
I would make a motion that we could approve for $150,000 in this round.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. I'm in favor of the motion, but I do want the, no offense, Diane, because I know this is Diane's last meeting, so don't think anyone think I'm excluding Diane. I'd like the five of us to kind of keep in mind that there's kind of an inherent, that we're gonna be look at this again and look toward this project in the next round.
Through the chair,
Yes.
when it comes to these partial funding amounts, when we
Yes.
create grant agreements, we do have to place line items for what items we are funding. And so I ask, when you are making a partial funding amount, to identify which items in the budget you would like to
Yes,
fund with
indeed.
that partial
You are
funding
absolutely
amount.
correct.
You could break this one down very cleanly into masonry repair and repointing, as well as window and exterior door restoration, that's 150. Or otherwise, if you prefer, instead of the windows, structural
Make
stabilization.
this easy, Frank. Make it easy, Eric. What-
I've got it in front of me, I am like.
So, okay, so, tell me which one this is again?
Uh,
Be the first two, so I'll remember that.
Masonry repair and repointing is 100,000, and then you have your,
Hold on 1 second, don't write that fast. 100, yep.
I'll just run the list and then
What's
we
the
can.
sec, just give me the second one that gets to 50.
The second one that gets us to 50 is window and exterior door restoration.
Windows 50. And that is on number,
Mhm.
that is number 2. Okay, great. Terrific. So the motion was made, seconded. Was there a second? There was a second, yes.
Yes.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Worcester Public Schools, playgrounds. What do we want to do, folks? Do you want to do 2? Do you want to do 3? What do you want to do? If we do 3, it is 387. Does somebody have the exact amount?
I got it in front of me. I think if we do the 3, based off of the spreadsheet I'm looking at, it would be 382,580. And that would be 26,3 for University Park Community School, 103,553 for Quinsig Elementary School, and then 252,725 for Belmont Street Elementary School. And I would say I'm inclined to accept these 3. I would just, again, I think we probably just need to communicate back to both the, city manager and city council, as well as to the schools, that like they really need to work to get a line item in their budget if they're expecting to come back for these other projects they initially had included. I don't know if people feel otherwise about just doing 2, or in which case I'll leave it. I'm inclined to be okay with those 3.
I agree with the 3 as well.
Okay, 3. So what folks want to do? All right, sounds like a plan. So motion has been made to do the 3 schools at 382,580. Second, was there a second? Second by
second.
Frank. Further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Veterans Inc.
You want to get
I'd like to send them on their way. As much as I love the building and love all the mission of what they do, I'd rather not have them in front of us a third time. You know, it's like, okay, do the project and let's move along here.
I also think it would be a great precedent to set that, like, you don't, like, a nonprofit doesn't have to get to the point where they are collecting water in buckets before they can fix something. So I'm also in support of doing the whole thing.
So then we don't need a motion because it will just be part of the overall. So, fourth, so let's take that off the list. Institute Park. Do you want to make a motion on that, or do you want to, what do you want to do on that, Di?
I mean, I guess if, when they get the final quote, if they're not going to get the full amount anyway, it doesn't really matter.
No, that's,
So, I say just fund it in full and we'll see what happens.
worst case is we have 25, 30,000 that comes back to us for the next round and, yeah.
I agree.
Okay, so we'll take that off. Salisbury House, did you want to make a motion, or are you good with that? That's Pres Worcester.
That's the HVAC.
That's a 300,000 on a 385 project.
Right. I mean, how does everybody feel? Is everybody okay with the full
I'm
Three.
good with that.
I'm okay with it.
Okay with it.
385? Fine, I'm good with it too.
Okay, so on the full motion to accept the 13 projects as amended, somebody has to make that motion.
I will make a motion to accept the 13 projects as amended.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Seeing no further discussion. So let me read the motion one time for Jacqueline's sake and then everybody who's paying attention at home. The motion would be to fund St. Gobain Abrasives for the mural relocation to the Worcester Art Museum for $500,000. It would be to fund 3 school playgrounds at Belmont University Park, and remind me what the third one is, folks?
Quincy.
Quincy, thank you. For $382,580. It would be to fund the Beacon Street Historic Firehouse Rehab and Restoration, partially to do masonry repair for $100,000, and for window restoration for $50,000. It'd be to fund the Historic Armory Roof and Masonry Restoration at Veterans Inc. for $489,020.04. We should dock them the 4 cents just on principle for putting it down.
We'd have to make a motion on that.
The 122 Austin Tot Lot renovation by the Worcester Common Ground for $150,000 and $222. To fund the electrical upgrades to Institute Park gazebo by the Friends of Institute Park for $62,500. To fund the restoration of the Nature Explore playground at the Worcester Natural History Society, also known as the Ecotarium, for $174,000. To fund the Salisbury House HVAC boiler and upgrades by Pres Worcester for $300,000. To fund the Sister Lily entrance for the Excentria, also known as Lutheran Home, $60,000. To fund the Timothy Payne House by the National Society of the Daughters of American Revolution, Bigelow Chapter, on Lincoln Street for $29,560. To fund the Dr. Robert and Esther Goddard Center for Inspiration, the Wonder Mission, up in the south end of Worcester, $100,000 and $119. $19, I don't know why they just didn't do 100. Kendrick Field, restoration campaign by Schwartz Baseball Incorporated, $192,062. And finally, the All Saints Episcopal Church Parish House window replacement by All Saints Episcopal Church, $264,842. You've heard the motion before you, the itemized list of what is before you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It is unanimous. Jacqueline, we're gonna need a very well-needed.
Where are we at?
Where are we at here?
through the chair, this evening, we had $6,485,044 to award. Currently, you have awarded, not counting the
Right.
Affordable Housing Trust Fund, approximately, you have remaining to award $2,349,353.51.
So 2.349 million we have left. If we go, just kind of do the math with me, folks, if we go with the 125, we are looking at a little bit over a 1.1 left. If we go 1.5, we are less than $1 million. We're about 800,000, I believe. So let's kind of keep that in the back of our mind as we keep going, okay? All right, the next category. We have, let me get to the last page of it. We have five projects in there that I'm guessing add up to more than what we have. But I guess my question to you would be, are there any, so if you had to rank the five, you know, I would ask you to kind of think about how we get there. Only one I would say to you that I think we need to treat a little bit differently is Pilgrim. As you'll recall, Pilgrim came before us under an emergency provision Jacqueline helped me, 4 months ago, 5 months ago? Somewhere in that range.
Through the chair, Pilgrim Church presented a special application for about $60,000 at a meeting in December.
And so we approved that $60,000. The city then entered discussions with them, and it was determined in coordination with a grant they were pursuing from Secretary Galvin that they would hold, come back to us in the next round. So whether we honor that or not, it's up to the committee and up to a committee vote, but I do believe there's an implied that we were going to come back and revisit that and value it. But that's, again, that's a committee discussion and a committee vote. So just kind of keep that process in the back of your mind. This is kind of a follow-up from the earlier visit. Other items that people want to discuss?
So the Beaverbrook Hockey Rink by Worcester Renegades Youth Street Hockey. For this one, you know, I was sort of surprised that the scoring didn't end up higher, personally. However, this is one that I would advocate full funding for. Part of that being is that, as mentioned by the applicant, this is a project we probably won't see coming back, at least not while all of us are serving on this committee. You know, this is probably something that is really kind of a one and done, and at the same time, this is the only resource for this in the city. You know, being the representative from Parks, you know, we have a lot of baseball and softball fields and soccer fields and basketball courts, which again are great, and I advocate funding and supporting those. I think in this case, it's a bigger ask partially because, again, it is the only resource, and it is something that I would advocate that we fully fund.
So can I ask a question of you, Mr. Parks?
Please.
So I kept looking at this too, and I agree with you on the value of it, and the one-off nature of it. The amount of money's high. I could not find how to piecemeal it, because it's kind of silly to dig up the whole thing and then you're not putting any boards up or anything. So I guess my question to you from Parks is, and I'm going against my own judgment of going back to the REC thing, if we were to put some portion of the money in, whether it's half of it or whatever, and say, okay, it's not gonna happen this year, but maybe it can be done in 2027, and next year we put the remainder, you know, again, we can't commit to that, but if we had it in the spirit of we were gonna do this over 2 cycles and then do it next year to try and preserve some money to use for other projects, is that doable? Is the 1-year delay,
So
would that crush this group, or?
I think that it would, and the reason I say that is that I think that this is, you know, partially you have one facility. It's not like they can go somewhere else to
Is it
play or
unplayable
practice.
now?
I mean, they've been playing on it, so, you know, they played on it last year, and their plan is to play on it again, this year, you know, either way. But I think for this one, it really is something where it would be, again, a one and done, and I think the hope would be is to get moving on it as quickly as they can, you know, as quickly as the city can fund it, whether that's, you know, in the next few months or longer, hopefully sooner. But their goal would probably be to move forward with this and start those repairs so that they can play on it. And I think that by prolonging this over the span of potentially 2 years, I think would be potentially detrimental. Because I do think it's an issue of it's really hard to break it out. You know, if we say, oh, we'll just do the surface and the boards, but, you know, you got to have fencing too, that's a safety concern. To just say, okay, we won't do bleachers, you know, people got nowhere to sit. And it makes it complicated then for people to come and be with their kids while they're playing. So I think that from my perspective on it, it is something that I think we should push for full funding on. And again, I think that this one, it's challenging. You know, while there may not have been matching for it, I would again advocate that I think that this is, you know, sort of a small group and that they have worked really hard to try and sort of pursue other avenues. You know, they've managed to secure a group that will handle the financing for this, you know, assuming the city decides to support this. So I think that it would be a hard one to try and break it up between multiple years.
So I'm just doing the math. If we go back and do the 1.25 and then fund this, that brings us down to 619, if my math is right. And if we do Pilgrim,
That's 89,000, I think.
89, that has us at 530. And then we've got a couple more to look at in this one. Okay.
I have a different project I wanted to call out unless there's other people who want to comment on the hockey.
Well, any more discussion on the hockey? Yes.
I wanted to fully support the hockey rink as well. I felt it was a really important project. It is just the single one in the city, and I'm concerned that if it gets started, that it won't get finished if they don't have the full funding.
Okay. Marissa, did you have?
I was gonna say, I also think we should support the full amount.
Yeah, I would agree, and also just to say, sometimes it's better to fully fund something and complete it than get a bunch of things started halfway, then they can't finish, and then did we maybe not use that funds wisely if they couldn't actually finish the project?
Got it. So we've talked about Pilgrim, we've talked about.
Theater?
I'm sorry, what?
Is now exiting.
Oh, okay. So we've talked about Pilgrim, we've talked about the Beaverbrook hockey. We have 3 other projects in this category. Yes.
I wanted to call out the Back to the Balcony,
good
Saving
dis-
Worcester's Oldest Theater by Worcester Olympia Foundation.
Yep.
I really like this project. I think it's really interesting, but I have concerns for this one, partially that it seems like the project isn't really fully fleshed out yet, and that it may be something where this might be a project where partial funding to help them with doing some of that may be beneficial, or asking them to resubmit in our next funding cycle when they have sort of a little bit more material related to the project. You know, my concern with this one is really it sort of felt somewhat incomplete. And even during the presentation, it felt a little bit like they weren't quite sure either on some of
Right.
this. And again, this is a big undertaking. I think
Yeah.
that Worcester does desperately need a movie theater. I think this would be a really cool location for this. But I have some concerns given, again, for this one, it's a large ask and it felt unfinished.
I agree with you. I like the project too, and I love their enthusiasm. You know, and I never considered the 7, that's just way too much money. We don't have it anyways. I can't figure out, I agree with you, I'd like to help them and put some money in. If somebody has any thoughts about, you know, like originally they were asking for 203, and then it jumped to 740 something or whatever it is, and I'm not really sure what the thought process was on this, but if there's an amount that we can help them with planning, I'd be happy to support. I just can't figure out what that amount is, whether it is 203, which was the original, but I'm not sure what the 203 was for, versus what the rest of it is. Do you have the proposal up in front of you?
Well, I'm looking at the budget, on the line item that we have, and construction management was $60,930. Drawing, design, and floor plans were $12,500. Engineering support was $40,750. Wall restoration was $84,202 and 20 cents. And project construction itself was $547,289.25. So, the construction is the big ask. It may be that potentially we look at saying, great, we'll help with the drawings, design, floor plan end of it, because then they may be able to come back with a more finished, here's really what this is gonna run and what we need to do, but it's a little tricky, because the biggest aspect of that was the construction.
It just felt desperately like they need some sort of technical guidance here to try and figure out how to get, I don't know how we add that, it's not in their project, so, I'm a little lost in this one.
Are we allowed to do that?
I don't know. Does the city have any guidance on this?
Because I think I even talked about it at the hearing. I would love if they could somehow affiliate with Hanover Theater or Mechanics Hall and get some expertise on how to run a building like that. And if they brought in a manager, I don't know the number for it, where we could do that.
Let's put this in a parking lot for a second and talk about the other ones, and we'll come back to this. I'm gonna make my pitch for, I didn't support it the first go-around. This is round 2 with them. When NDA came in last year, Notre Dame Academy, I'm sorry, my first instinct was, and I think it was the entire committee, was where's the community benefit? And so when they came in the second time, we communicated that to them, please tell us what the community benefit is. And I do believe that the presentation was long on the promise that they were going to do better at that and to bring the community into the walls. Frank asked a specific question about different groups coming in, and they were very open to it. They provided a list of where all their students participate in, and they were going to start with them and ask them whether those groups could come in. I always get nervous about these projects that are very specific to a small group of people, but I do get, and I think you asked a direct question, there really aren't a lot of meeting halls in the west side of
Correct.
Worcester.
That's a
The
point
JCC, and that's about it. And I do think they made a good faith effort to answer our question. So where I was kind of with the committee completely last time around, that this just isn't ours, I'm kind of reversing it a little bit on me. That maybe we ought to think about giving them some money to do this and see if they can really open the building up to the community, but I'll leave it to you.
They convinced me this year too, and I agree, last year I didn't think that they sold it as far as how it could be good for the community, and I was against funding it. And this year, they convinced me, I thought, this is a good project to fund.
I thought last year they were talking about doing a capital campaign. They were not fully formed, and
Right.
I think we're a bricks and mortar outfit, and we want to have all the specifics and everything else like that, and this seemed better
Right.
this time around.
Sure, Marissa.
This project brings up a couple red flags for me.
Yep.
The first one is that I always get skeptical when applicants for grants say they're gonna do something and they have no written plan. I think I would be a lot more convinced if they were like, once the building's fixed, here's our community engagement plan and all of the things we can do with it. It doesn't seem like they have that. I was also confused because it seems like they have a lot of internal problems that are not being addressed with this project that make it seem like the building will not be able to be used until those internal issues are also fixed.
I didn't get that. Okay.
I think Eric, maybe you asked about if there was like a water issue, an internal water issue
They said something about a pipe freezing, didn't they? Was it that
in
way or
there,
someone else?
which it seems like was unrelated to their application. So then I was just lost on like how much more needs to be fixed before it will
Good
open.
question.
And it looks like the things on their ask were replace and repair the roof and repair and restore exterior facade. And that they have, I think, somewhat of a match for the exterior facade.
Yeah.
I would say that, you know, kind of along the same veins, I like this project. I think they did a significantly better job this year than last. But I do have some concerns too of the, you know, I'm big on documentation if it's not written down. And the community engagement part is the part, you know, we're hearing promises of that. But I have concerns about, well, what does that look like? You know, is that, again, hey, we're going to open it up to community groups that want to come in, but you know, who gets to decide which groups? How are, you know, what if, you know, if I want to bring a group in, are they going to say, well, you know, that's not a group that we can support because of their own mission? You know, what does that look like from public participation? So it's a question that I raised. I'm mixed on it because I do think that, you know, similar to you know, for you and for Frank, that, you know, it is an issue on the west side of that there's not a lot of community meeting locations. But again, the promise of, oh, well, we could be that, you know, part of it is when and what's the guarantee. And I think that if there's a promise of that maybe, you know, the question I guess I would have to the city, is there a way to incorporate that into the award that, hey, we're offering you the funds, but in exchange, you're agreeing that you will make, you know, space in this building available for public, you know, public access meetings participation.
Through the chair, that is absolutely one of the things that you can include in the grant agreement as a condition for receiving the funds.
Good, let's do it.
So I think that might address that concern for me.
Yeah, that
at
would make
least.
me more.
You know, include that.
However, it would be helpful to have those conditions sooner rather than later, as in maybe tonight, so we
Yeah,
can
we're
draft
gonna,
something.
we're gonna condition, we're gonna go through, as we go through motions, I'm gonna expect you to kind of go to.
I was going to say too, and one thing, I may want to add in a stipulation for all of our approvals, as I have previously, that I want clawback provisions in these, that, you know, people cannot sell their properties.
So let's
We'll
talk.
come back to that.
Yeah, we'll come back to this. So the last one in the category is this, and this brings us back to discussion that we've had in the first round, which is the Quinsig Firehouse renovation. This is, I'm just looking to make sure I'm on the right page. Where did I do?
Page 14,
I lost
very
page
bottom.
I lost page 15. There we are. So I couldn't find
Yeah,
page 15.
14 and 15.
Yeah. This is another one, we had this in the first round of privately owned facilities. In the first round, we flinched about privately owned facilities that can be used to make individuals money down the road. And I'm not suggesting this individual who has a long history of being involved in historical projects has that. But we did have, as a committee, some reservations about this. So I guess the question is, you know, reminding everybody that precedent setting, where are we on this? Are we still of the, where we were in the first round, which is we were somewhat reluctant to do privately held projects that could provide financial benefit to the owner, either through sale down the road or whatever? Or are we, is this one, does it meet what we want to do as a committee?
I'm still the same way as in the first round. And in the public hearing process, before we got the Community Preservation Commission up and running, we had public input, and a lot of what people were looking for is public access for a particular facility. And I just didn't hear that in the presentation from the owner. I admire the work that he's doing with that fire station, and it's a prominent space down in Quinsig Village, but it's going to be regular rate apartments, and that he is going to eventually deed the building to his daughter. It's got to be public access for me.
Yeah, I don't think this is an appropriate use of public funds either.
I have similar reservations. I would be inclined to probably look towards funding some of our other projects that I think are meeting these areas of concern for me.
Yep.
I think that for this particular applicant, I would probably want to see some sort of commitment to either having these, you know, if there are going to be apartments there, you know, that they're affordable housing, or at least, you know, some portion of them are, you know, if they're looking towards us for funding to help support some of those.
Okay, so I am kind of looking at this, so we've talked about those 5. If we, so, what's Knollwood? So, if we start at and so maybe we ought to also, do we want to go into the next category or not? Or do we want to just start calculating money out at this point?
In the red?
I think it'd be beneficial to possibly just go into the next category to just kind of explain our rationale.
Sure.
At the very least, because again, some of the projects that were in red last round came back.
So we have 2. I assume there's not a major discussion on the second one, which I believe they did not participate on the.
Yeah, all right.
I'm happy to add a comment if you want, which,
Only if you really want to, it's up to you. I don't know if it's going to be necessary, but up to you.
yeah, I mean, for the second one on that, my concern, this is the Heritage Baptist Church Restoration Phase 1. They're referring to the installing and securing a chain link fence around the perimeter. In my opinion, when we think about the category, this is in open spaces, I don't think that is in the spirit of that category, and thus I do not support funding this particular project. I think
yeah,
fences
we all came to
can
that.
be beneficial, so, we may have cases where we do need fencing for things, but I didn't think that was kind of,
Yeah, I don't think
Case
that's,
here.
we don't need a lot of discussion on that one. And the other one?
I have problems with it. They asked for a lot of money. There was no talk about a match from them. And the public access, to me, was very limited. They said they have basically 200 families that are members, but I didn't get a sense that they make the building open to the rest of the public, and so I was not enthusiastic about that proposal.
Yeah, and it just didn't seem like even if all the other selling points were there, they needed some more permissions and permits before anything could even commence. So I wasn't convinced that it would even be taking place in a timely manner. They just didn't seem ready.
I agree. I think there's some concerns, even with the, outside of the public access end of it, I have the sort of 2 concerns that I had. One is the question that I ask of a lot of these big historic buildings that comes up, which is what is the plan for future maintenance? Are they going to be able to support this moving, as they go? Or is this something where people are going to have to keep coming back asking for additional funding because they cannot support maintenance of these facilities? The other area of concern for me on this one was it doesn't appear to be kind of shovel-ready. They haven't pursued any of these permits or gotten, if they were like, hey, we're ready to submit our applications, once we have our approval, that would be different, but it did not feel like, from the application as I read it, they have not done that yet. They were waiting until they got approval to even start pursuing looking at securing permits. And so it may be something where it may be worth recommending to this applicant if they want to come back to us next cycle, that they have those items kind of ready to go.
Yep.
And that will put them in a better position to potentially secure funding and to answer some of those questions or concerns.
Gotcha. So let's kind of begin to talk about money, because this is, rather than before we start making motions here, because we're at the point of the discussion where we need to talk money. So we're starting at basically 2.349. So if we go, and I'm not suggesting this, I'm just giving you the example. If we go 1.250 for the trust fund, that puts us down to a little bit, almost 1.1 million, just slightly under. If we then go to I'm just going to the biggest ones first, the Beaverbrook Hockey Rink, minus 479, 649, I'm not counting their 3 cents. In fact, they can put the 3 cents in.
I'll give them this one.
There you go. So that puts us at 619. If we go the 89,844, 89,844, and they can eat the 46 cents also, from Pilgrim Church, that has us at 529. If we go Knollwood, 298,115, that would put us at 231,392. which gotta make a decision on what we're doing with the back to the balcony gang. You know, so can we justify, I guess, Eric, pull up the project again, the back to the balcony one.
I've got the spreadsheet if you want the individual.
So is there anything worthy, you know, is there something that we can make a difference to help them get moving with 231?
Yeah, I mean, so in theory with, you know, if we're looking at kind of that potential amount, the way they've broken this down is their construction management is 60, you know, which I think doesn't make sense if they're not moving forward with the construction at that point, because the construction itself is 547, so
Oh,
we could
good
probably
point.
skip construction management.
Just give me parts of it, so I should write down here.
Yeah, construction management is $60,930. Drawing, design, floor plan is 12,500.
12,500?
Yep.
And that is for design?
That's drawings, design, and floor plan.
Okay.
Engineering support is $47,750, so $40,750.
Oh, 40,750?
And then wall restoration is $84,202 and 20 cents.
And what's that for?
Wall restoration, so $84,202 and 20 cents.
84, one more time, I'm sorry.
202 and 20 cents.
I don't care about the 20 cents.
And then project construction is their big cost, as outlined in the spreadsheet, which is $547,289.25. And I think that, I mean, potentially like the drawings, design, and floor plan.
So can you hold for 1 second? And you tell me if it's inappropriate. So I guess I'm gonna ask a question from the city side. Has the city worked with these folks in terms of helping, in terms of planning? Is there anything you can kind of tell us that, you know, from where they are in the process and how we can best be helpful working within our frame?
Through the chair, or to the chair. I have not met with them personally. I believe the Chief Development Officer has met with them once or twice. And during their presentation, they mentioned they had worked with, I believe, Clark University on a business plan. As I heard their presentation, without really meeting with them or knowing much about the project, my first thought, and I still feel this way, that they really need to hire a team of consultants to, if they haven't done it yet, to kind of go through that building and figure out what the actual costs are to get it up to code and renovate it. So some of those line items, I think, could work in, you know, under that scenario where you're doing a scope of work, a budget, estimates. So that would be an engineering firm, it'd be an architectural group. It could be under construction management, because a lot of the construction companies do project management where they might be able to help with some of the cost estimates. But at this point, again, based on very limited knowledge, just hearing the presentation, I think they really need some pre-development money at this stage, and then find out if, you know, what the actual cost could be, and then if they have the financing to do it, or the historic tax credits and such. But just based on my experience with Hanover Theater and other projects, I'm not sure that $500,000 could get that building up and open to the public.
Gotcha. So thank you, appreciate that, Paul. Can you tell me again what the construction management, construction design?
$60,930.
And what does all that equal up to? Say the 60,000, the 12,500, the 40,750, and the 84,202, or you're gonna make me do that?
No, give me a second.
I can do it.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, Jacqueline, you're the best.
Who can do it first?
Through the chair, the total between the construction management, drawings, design, floor plan, and engineering support comes to $114,180.
What is the total?
$114,180.
How's that possible? I thought it was 84,000 for one of those.
The wall restoration is 84, and
Yes.
that would not be included in this.
So if we included that, what would
Through
that
the
equal?
chair, we would be able to use the line items, construction management, drawings, design, floor plan, and engineering support for pre-construction.
Got it.
Mr. Chairman, the only thing, I don't know if we want to consider that 84,000, just because I go back to what Ms. Callahan said about the church a while back, about if, and again, this is with limited information, but if they have a situation where a wall is collapsing and they need to shore that wall up in order to help save that building, I mean, maybe we look at that. I just can't tell you or the whole board right now what is really going on with the
So
building.
Jacqueline,
I
can
don't
you
know.
give me two numbers? What's that first number, the 114? What was what was after 114?
The total 114, 180 covers construction
Right,
management,
and
drawings.
if we add the 84 in, what would that second figure be?
Uh, 198,382.
198?
Mhm.
Correct.
And what's the, after 198?
382,
Thank you.
20.
Still, I'm taking their 20 cents.
One question I have related to that too is, and I think it was in our notes, was the question of, you know, this is the group that wants to do this, but they're not necessarily the group that owns the building. Is that correct?
They own the building.
They do?
I thought they bought
I
it.
wanted to double check, so.
Yeah, I thought
sorry,
they
They
that's-
bought it in 2021, and I think they paid about $500,000 for it. So
Okay.
as a family, I think they're paying the mortgage.
Gotcha, okay,
Could we,
But they also have a 501c.
gotcha.
could we, as a condition on this, well, with joining the Eric Stratton condition gang, put in there, or even a recommendation that they engage in more process with bringing people in to kind of figure this out here a little bit?
To the chair, yes, I think so. And then even that line item for the restoration of the wall, as we talked about earlier, if they're not able to do it, then that money just goes back into the fund for the next round. But at least give them the opportunity to make sure the core and shell is protected and we're not at risk of losing that building.
In the spirit of what we're looking for, could the city help us with language down the road on the condition of trying to get them kind of going in the straight
Yeah,
line
absolutely.
here?
Yeah, we can meet with them and explain exactly what we're thinking, and
Okay.
so they have a full understanding on how to move forward. And that will be reflected in the grant agreement.
So we've got 4 projects in this category, plus the Affordable Trust Fund, so hold on, minus 198.
I can give you a couple if you want.
Well, if my trusty phone is working, I think we're almost like within 30,000 or so of, there you go, huh? How's that for government inefficiency here? Volunteer style. So I think the motion would be, which I'm looking at you, Eric, because you're the motion guy. I think the motion would be to fund the Affordable Trust Fund, Housing Trust Fund, plus 4 projects in category yellow. And then I'll go through each of the 4. I think it's back to back, so it'll be,
So the only question I would have is the amount for Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I'm just doing some math on.
I think it's
spread-
125, because I think anything above that, we're out of money.
You don't want to
By
throw
my
in the
spreadsheet, we may-
30,000?
Well, it's for the 30,000, and it works for me.
I was gonna say, depending on which ones we are choosing to move forward with it or which ones we are not, from my math, I think we may still have a remaining 219. But
So
I
let's
wanna-
go-
That's why I wanna double check.
So let's go through it. So, let's do the motion. Let's kind of even, let's kind of go backwards a little bit than we've been doing. Let's make the motion, and why don't you make the motion to fund, and then 4 projects plus the trust fund, and then I'm gonna read the specific numbers
Mhm.
and make sure we're all on the same page, and then if we need to amend, we'll amend.
Okay.
Okay, so why don't you make the motion to fund 4 projects in yellow plus the Affordable Trust Fund?
And do you want me to name the specific projects?
No, because we're gonna
Okay,
go
okay,
through,
gotcha.
we're gonna go this through, I have the feeling you're gonna correct me numerous times, because I have the feeling in the partials, I'm gonna be way off here.
I guess the only other question I would have for you is, I will probably want to make an amendment.
We'll do
for
amendment
any
for
of our-
conditions.
yeah,
Okay.
Perfect, okay, we'll amend for conditions. So I will make a motion to fund the Affordable Housing Trust Fund as well as 4 projects in our yellow category.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All right, the motion before us, as I believe it is a partial on the Affordable Trust Fund, Housing Trust Fund for $1.25 million. Do we need to specify, or on that one, can we give a blanket figure?
I think they had
Do-
different
we'll see
levels.
them.
They have multiple projects listed.
Through the chair, there are multiple projects listed.
Hate tying their hands. I mean, do we have a little bit of flexibility with that one so that they kind of,
I believe that we can have.
They're the
flexibility
experts on
with that.
creating housing, not us.
Okay.
So 1.25 million for the Affordable Trust Fund for housing. And then in the yellow category, we are funding Back to the Balcony, Saving Worcester's Oldest Theater by Worcester's Olympia Foundation. And we are funding that for $198,382 for construction management, drawing something,
Design some floor plan.
thank you, and what was the 40,752
Engineering support,
Engineering support, and then walls for
wall restoration.
wall restoration. Okay, so, and also in that is page 15, I keep losing page 15 for some reason.
Knollwood?
Knollwood Mansion Building Envelope Upgrades by Notre Dame Academy of Worcester for $298,115. And
Excuse me.
Beaverbrook Hockey Rink by Worcester Renegades Youth Street Hockey for $479,649. And the Pilgrim Church Bell Tower and Roof by the Grace and Mercy Holiness Church for $89,844. With that motion in front of us, what would that total bring us down to?
With those motions, the total amount that will have been recommended is 6 million, oh, sorry. With those motions, the total amount that's been recommended will be $6,451,681.18, with a remaining budget of $33,362.82.
There you go, Frank. If you want to make your amendment, there you go.
My amendment would be to add the $33,000 to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Do I have a second on the motion?
A second.
On the actual amendment, which we'll vote first, on the amendment to add $33,000 to the total, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so that now comes part as the overall motion. So now what is our total that is in this motion?
Through the chair, the total that is in this motion, or the total amount, I don't know about the total motion, but for the total amount, we would be using all $6,485,044.
Perfect.
Perfect, cool. Everyone's happy?
Um,
So the hold on, I'm sorry, conditions.
Conditions.
Conditions. Now, let's be clear on conditions, because we got a little bit of pushback on after the first round.
Mhm.
Like our motion for money, we are not the funder. We are a recommender. Like conditions, we are not the conditioner. We are the recommending conditions. At the end of the day, the law department will determine whether the conditions meet city policy, regulation, take your pick, whatever qualifier you want to use. But at the end of the day, they're going to get a bottom line on whether they believe they can implement what we're putting in there.
Mhm.
Just so that we're clear before you begin conditions. Okay, now with that said, go get them.
So I would make a motion, I guess, to include a condition for all of the projects that we're recommending for funding, to include some type of clawback provisions as appropriate, as determined by the law department. Specifically, my goal with this is to ensure that buildings or structures that we are choosing to fund that may be owned by a nonprofit or an individual are not then receiving city funds and immediately being sold once they've been renovated. That, and I will leave it to the city to make determinations about whether those clawback provisions would be tiered to allow, after 10 years, great, you own it outright, go nuts, do what you need to do. But that, should a project, a property, or, whatever, some sort of object be sold, and, to that end, that those funds would come back to the CPC for future funding.
Through the chair, I believe in the first round of grant agreements, there is language to that extent in all of the draft grant agreements referring to capital projects.
So the motion would be to continue.
To continue doing so for all capital projects that we're recommending for funding.
And do you also, when we get all the conditions at one shot here,
Mhm.
do you want to put something on the Knollwood one to,
Yes,
Something-
thank you. For the Knollwood property, for that project, I would want to see something included in the agreement to ensure public access and use of the space. so that they need to come up with more clear terms in terms of what that would look like.
Terrific.
Um,
And also, your motion also is to include a condition on that the city's gonna help us develop language on the back to the balcony gang to try to figure out how to kind of move us toward a better planning process.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, please.
yes. So are those three conditioned, do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
And on the,
Do you need a motion to adjourn?
no, we're not adjourning.
not done,
We're not
okay.
adjourning, we're not adjourning. We got a couple of things,
Getting ahead of-
couple of things of business to take care of. So, we have just completed our second cycle, and I do want to recognize one of our members who is departing us for 2 cycles. Diane Long has done wonderful work coming from the historical Pres gang.
Thank you.
We could not have succeeded in 2 rounds without your sage guidance, wisdom, thoughts.
It's been a pleasure.
And so we thank you very much for having had part of the committee.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed every moment.
And I have one more. And so for 2 cycles, we could not have existed or done the work we've been doing without the efforts of our friend Jacqueline. And so with gratitude and with happiness for her, and a little bit of sadness for us, but a very much more happiness for her, I recognize Jacqueline for remarks.
Oh.
That would be your, that was your cue, Jacqueline.
Yes, it's been a pleasure to work with you all. It's been a lot of fun learning about all of you and really having a chance to see you applying all of what you know to making a better place in Worcester through these projects. This is going to be my last meeting with all of you. So I have taken a position elsewhere, but I am very happy to have been able to spend this time with you. Thank you.
So again, thank you. Great gratitude to you for your efforts, and we look forward to working with Paul. And even though you're not replaceable, I assume at some point we will find someone that tries to replace you, and we look forward to that process. But again, thank you so much for all that you've done for this process and continue to do for it. Hell of a job, and it's the city's loss, but I'm happy for you and your professional life gain. Now, if you have a motion to
Oh,
adjourn?
Before we do, the only
Yes.
question I would have is, do we have another meeting on the books? Or is that something we will be working with Paul to schedule as a follow-up?
Through the chair, one of the things that's required through the Community Preservation Act is that every year there needs to be a public hearing for revisions to the Community Preservation Plan. So in this public hearing, the community would have an opportunity to comment on the application process, the application itself, the Community Preservation Plan, and any changing priorities that they might want to update as part of the Community Preservation Plan. And so that public hearing, you may want to consider having in the May timeframe. Whether you have another meeting prior to then is also up to you, just to judge project process and whatnot.
So I think there's a couple things coming. So obviously, do we have a sense of what calendar you're aiming for on the council to get this up there? Or is this going to be sometime in March or?
Through the chair, we are aiming to get the memo together for City Council for the March 10th meeting.
So assuming that the council does not send something back to us, which is more of a hope than and so assuming the council passes, it might make some sense for us to have a discussion in April about where we're at, because obviously staffing is now going to be an upcoming issue for us and our administrative budget. And we also are going to, I believe, are going to want to get a update on what the heck is going on in the law department.
My.
Yeah, that's approaching problematic moments here.
It's past it.
It's a kind moment here, Frank. And so hopefully we'll have some updates in April that, especially with round 2 starting, that we have now are able to kind of get the city's law department moving on round 1 contracts. Otherwise, we're gonna need a different kind of discussion, I think, in April. But is there,
I was just gonna say.
I know we have April school vacation for those
I've
of
got
you
the
who have
calendar
children.
pulled up, so I was.
So maybe we should think about,
I'm leaving April 9th, and I'll be away for like 2.5 weeks.
so just because we live vicariously through you, Frank, where are you going?
Greece.
Ah, there you go.
How about the 7th, Tuesday the 7th?
Hold on one second. Tuesday the 7th. See, Diane doesn't care anymore. Now Diane's like, you guys go.
Do whatever.
Marissa, how's the 7th look for you in April?
I think okay, I'm gonna double check quick, but
That's the Tuesday after Easter.
Okay. Any objections, Frank?
That'd be great.
Works for me.
So let's tentatively say we'll meet on the 7th at 5:30, and Paul, can we see if we can get back into this space?
Yes.
See, notice Jacqueline, it's just already, Jacqueline who? It's already gone right by you here, you know?
Right.
So CPA. Where are we on, obviously, we're now down with Diane leaving, we're at 6, and I'm told by Diane we may have a replacement on historical, so we're back to 7. And how, is there any suggestion that we might be seeing 2 new members in the spring?
Through the chair, so we did pause for a moment with the recommendations coming through, but we do have 2 open at-large seats. We have conducted some interviews. There will be another round of folks coming through the CAC momentarily, and so
Terrific.
once we finish those interviews, then we will be able to make those selections.
Awesome.
Yep.
And when is could you just kind of give a sense of the calendar of when, obviously our funds replenish on July 1st, and hopefully with a robust state match, not gonna be that robust, but we're hopeful. When would, the next cycle, remind me when we started this cycle, we started in October or September?
Through the chair, it's began around October.
Okay, so kind of, unless something changes or unless there's any kind of emergency request, obviously April, we would come together to kind of recap where we're at, begin to look at the planning process, staffing, where we're at for the contracts with the city. We'll break for the summer, and then we'll start up in the early fall again and begin the cycle that leads us to this point at the same time next year.
I guess the only question I would have is just with Jacqueline departing, will that position be getting posted, or has it already been posted on the city's site in terms of looking for applicants?
I just found out about this about 3 hours ago.
This is breaking news this afternoon here. Channel 4
You
broke
haven't
in at
posted
about
it
5
yet, Paul?
o'clock,
Come
So,
No, actually, it was this morning, so.
All right.
so with that,
through the
Jacqueline's
chair.
about to tell me I missed something.
In addition to that meeting in April, there will need to be a public hearing at some point.
Oh, on the plan, right?
Correct.
So in either May or June.
So, maybe we look at May and we start looking at that for the next meeting to decide the timeline? So that could be an agenda item to discuss when that
Sure.
should be?
Absolutely, let's put that on the agenda so on the April agenda, we're gonna look to talk about the May planning process, talk about, obviously the city council, if there's anything to talk about, hopefully not. Where we are with contracting and where we are with the staffing position and the administrative budget. Okay?
Sounds great.
Okay. Now, Eric, on your motion,
I will make a motion to adjourn.
do I have a second?
Second.
There you go, discussion, seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, folks, so much for all your work on this.